Hi all. Um, I haven't done a tea leaf reading in a while, so I'm probably gonna do one of those like later tonight or tomorrow. If I get time and can, because I'm a fat lazy fuck sometimes. But yeah, um, I'm just having some view on like some spiritual theories on different things and different phenomenon that might be explained or not explained. Um, whether anyone even ends up watching these. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was foresight. Obviously people possess foresight, and a lot of people that possess foresight don't really need validation or acknowledgement for this, and people who possess foresight themselves, rather than getting it from like an ancestor or a spirit or a book, it's just not actually their body, won't actually take as much of a toll. But sometimes, obviously, like feeling something that is dead or something that's happened could physically harm the body if you feel that death or not. Um, in particular, I want to talk about people who possess time abilities or foresight and the ability to do what is known as like a future sight or a time attack, which is kind of like explainable as like this burst of light of various colors depending on the intention and which direction the time attack was used in, which is like, white, gold, or pink, depending, which is like, used in the future. It's kind of like you've ever seen Pokemon XR2, which is like a bird of time. Um, it's all these flashes of various light, like these lights, just random flashes of light, which is a time attack, which I thought was pretty cool. So, like, some people can see with their time energy, some people can take damage through time, which means it'll randomly hurt them later or before. They could, like, step out into sunlight or near fire, or randomly go out into the cold for no reason in order to even it out, so that, like, when it gets too hot, they even them out with cool, or when it gets too cool, they even themselves out with hot, which is another cool way to use taking damage through time. But taking damage through times means like you're tough sometimes and you're not tough other times, randomly because you're taking damage through time. But like with the foresight attacks or the future sight attacks, it's like these people that can see learn to use like energy when they're doing future sight or foresight or seeing things. So they could even see, this could even be like not even just a flash of light energy, it could be a small spark of energy that like moves something to hit something or something, maybe someone goes to stop it, but they're like seeing these things through time, and they're actually using energy to move something through time in time, or doing like a burst of energy through time, um, kind of situation, which is like just random flashes of light, which could be something, something maybe has happened before on someone and they associate with something else, and they don't realize it's not actually particularly this particular being or person, it's someone who knows, which I think is interesting or cool. Like, it could be holding something back, but something could be getting drained and lower on energy because something else also knew that they knew, and like knew that they were doing it as well, which is an interesting theory. Like, I'm thinking about all these different things for book theories, but I always thought it was a pretty cool ability. Not sure if it's real or not. It's kind of like, these beings just like see something in future time, so that like, boom. And then at the most random times when it's needed, like a random flash of light will guide the way or show or stop something from happening, or so that'll like damage something or weaken it or strengthen it, which is all these interesting things. Um, just interesting in my theory on draining. Like I had a theory about it, but I'm not sure because I don't know if they actually exist or not. But I've had a lot of people in my life claim to be this, and even a psychologist leave a link to a video that, to a site, sorry, not a video that got deleted just after I watched it on their random messages claiming they think I am a wolf in sheep's clothing as a disorder, which is interesting because I don't think that's accurate at all. Um, but something to do with like some people might be naturally strong. Like, me when I was a child, I had natural strength, which I called or said was God given strength because I had a delusion as a child. I talked to mighty glowing sky being, um, yeah, and like I would accidentally rip a car door off or something, or like break a boxing bag off the chains and thought I did it on accident and tried did it on purpose. But me now is so incredibly weak and drained compared to and slow compared to my potential. It's not even funny. Like the other day, yesterday, I was trying to open a jar and I couldn't even open it. And then I said out loud, I'm so incredibly weak and drained right now. It's not funny. And then like I was holding a spoon, and then the spoon became too heavy for me to hold. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I thought about something. Someone once said to me about calling back like your energy or strength if it was stolen because it's yours. You just focus on you and call back what was yours. And so I tried that, and then I could lift the spoon, and then I opened the fucking um jar straight away. Whether or not it's mind over matter type things or not. Like I thought that was kind of an interesting theory. Um, but yeah, you never know. I mean, you never know. Like even when it comes to the healing. Um, it's I can feel it there sometimes and not. And it was mine because like I learned a little bit about it with my brother when I was a child, and then like my friend taught me about Reiki, but I was never really actually doing that because I wasn't sure about it or where it came from or anything. I just did what I already knew and just practiced and expand on it while I was there, which is interesting because it brings me back to my other theory about God-given talents. And it's like someone who knew someone who gifted someone with like blessings, kind of like a blessing magic that was theirs, and anyone else, all these other people are going to claim that it's theirs and that it's not theirs, and they can't do it, it's not theirs. But all these people were jealous, um, like vanity beings or envious or prideful beings or um, blasphemous beings who said they don't deserve it or it's not because they want it themselves. And when they steal it, they get themselves turned into like something as punishment, even if they were like this person's siblings or like them or this or that, which is kind of an interesting theory. It was probably just like this delusion I had as a child, as well as the one where I would end up meeting people that I've started to meet who were around the same age, if not around the same age as older, which I thought was kind of interesting. Um, which brings me on to my theory about empaths, and empaths can like learn to calm someone, right? So you could be like calm and calm someone, or calming emotions, or even empaths can have an effect on technology as well, which I thought was kind of interesting. Um, but sensing and controlling emotions is like a lot. Like people overlook how dangerous it can be because when it comes to like if you believe in the spiritual world and like energy and healing and magic and abilities, all of it comes down to emotion as its basis. It takes emotion and control to use. So like even if it's not directly tied into emotions, you need emotions in order to use it. So someone who can sense emotions as an empath can therefore learn to sense abilities or magics or energies when or they're being used and where they're coming from and where they're going to head. And someone who can control emotions as well as sense someone can learn to suppress these energies and weaken or even stop someone from using their abilities. And obviously, this can affect technology as well. Um, or they could even possibly learn to like. I'm not saying manipulating emotions is a good idea, but if they were to manipulate them, like put them off course so they miss, or strengthen or weaken them, which I think is kind of interesting. Um, yeah. Hold on, I want another. I want to go on to a different point that I didn't put next in this. Um, uh, you know what? I'm just gonna go on this one. I forgot I was going to go, but like a theory about it's like a certain kind of angels. Like there's obviously these three new beings or something. Um, that like I think I've got a cool theory on like how cool it would be if any of this was associated with beings that would possess certain kinds of foresight and seeing like how people conceived or born or die in life and sin or death and blessings and good things and all this. Life angels, like angels of life, who like energy is a part of life. It's a blessing. Blessing is life. Magic is a blessing. Which is like how the priests pray and do their blessings and abilities. It's kind of like, it's like a form of magic, which is how the angels do their things as well. But like life angels and energy, and they have like what I from Ireland I was told, life angels possess like an energy or an innate energy ability where they can like use this energy that's theirs, and if anyone steals it, they'll be turned into like horrible beings and they'll have no strength or energy of their own as a result and a punishment for that. Um, and it might be too late for them to even not become that, but they could change their ways and become a good one. And these beings as life or humanity, kind of beings themselves essentially, or embodiments of that, they can like do energy, and this energy they can put into all these various different forms, like climate or healing or even damaging or like clouds, or like they could use this energy to move something, or they could turn it into time energy. So it's essentially like all the gifts, but none of the gifts except for one at the same time, which I thought was pretty cool. Which is kind of like the what I learned or had a dream about when I was a child, before I was born, about like the balance angels. And the balance angels have tails instead of wings, and their tails like give balance to the earth and help keep the earth in balance, and they can access all the abilities. And their element as balance is kind of like judgment or justice or life or death, but it's also not because they all of their elements or their domain is essentially everything but nothing. They like their element is balance. So if something's shifted off balance and or needs them to step in to do that, they can take on like the form of any of these other domains and then just go back to being themselves. And if these beings are ever knocked off balance or like trip over or get off balance unnecessarily for no reason, it's supposed to mean that like something in the earth has shifted off balance or something like that, and it needs to be put back on balance, which I thought was interesting. But I don't know that for a solid fact, which was interesting. Or this even brings me to another point of assholes assuming something is not something because of something else. Like, for instance, someone could say, "Oh, this person doesn't sound right," or "This person's talking too much," or "I don't believe this person because I've never been through it, so I say they have mental health problems." And that leads to someone else saying, "Well, apparently they've got mental health problems, so it must be because of that." When it's not always the case, it can sometimes be the case. I'm not saying it's never the case, but mental health problems all come from somewhere, regardless. Like they don't all just come from nothing. Um, and like for instance, I had a doctor, like I got sent to a mental health hospital. I talked up about something an ex did, and they're like, "Oh, well, he must be psychotic. No one goes through that. I don't believe you. You talk too much. It's annoying, and all this weird shit," and sent me to hospital. Um, and forced me on medication for shit that I literally have like physical proof on my body a little bit. I can find it sometimes and not others, which is weird. Um, like the physical proof on my body about these things, and I got sent there and forced on medication. And like I went to the doctor about getting pain in my legs or pain in my back or like on the side of my legs, my back, or even like just uncomfortableness in my neck here. And um, they're like, "Oh, well, you have mental health issues in the past, so it must be mental health, not physical pain." And your body's just making it up and telling you. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's physical. Like, in the past, I have been cut by someone, and then like they have convinced me that I need to cut myself in order to, or like at first it was like I'll hurt you or someone else or cut you if you don't do as I did it, and then like I was convinced for a little bit I need to do it or else something bad would happen in the physical real world, which I was like interested about, but that's obviously not good idea or good mentality or good place to be in. Um, and if anyone is in that place, like there is help for you. You can survive through this, but it's just a hard road. And if you make it, then you're lucky and you can count your blessings and the gifts or you have or whatever fucking cosmic being or force was helping you, or mighty sky being. Um, like how cool. This brings me on to a thing like to do with the energy and the gifts and the blessings that some people could have received as their own things. That is like theirs. It's actually theirs. How cool would this combo of three, this three combo that I've had or thought about or worked out before, which is essentially someone can control or do, like, obviously these abilities could be getting stolen or drained, but they will be returned within time by other beings who said they were theirs, or too many, or they don't deserve them, or this or that, when they're just being vanity, vain, blasphemous biatches. Um, how cool would controlling the atmosphere or climate, like making clouds or weather or winds, if you can heal and you have foresight, because then you could just do like, or even be known as a secret underlying thing that was just like these winds that made people feel better or showed them the right path or like healed them or empowered them or even did the opposite side of healing and like made them weaker or slower or faster. Like just with these things, something that was just wind that was just like a thing for a while while someone had it until like these horrid evil demonic beings started following them. Which reminds me of something I had a dream about as a child, someone who was a man being like specifically the most beautiful person in existence or creation. Like someone they were related to used to be this, but then they were made and there was a bunch of jealous witches and demons who claim they're a demon or this or that themselves when magic isn't to be confused for witchcraft or sorcery because priests themselves do magic, which is blessing and prayer. um, and these demons, even their health, they attack their health in this stream apparently too. Um, they're just jealous of this one because they're like, why do they get to be so beautiful? They don't deserve it. But like, they're supposed to be jealous demons and witches who will follow this person to steal from them and drain their energy and their beauty and their sexual energy and their life force. Because it also reminds me of this thing on life angels. On top of all these other things I've said, life angels have like fertility and sex and birth and even seed to death. Which is kind of interesting. I thought it was kind of an interesting theory of whether or not they exist. Just about a dream I had. Um, yeah, like they could even be like God-given gifts that someone has since they're a child because they're supposed to. Like, I once had this theory on telepathic beings and telepath. There could be many different things. Like, maybe a telepath could be one third of a person that's needed to see these things in the future because each foresight or psychic being is created with their own thing to do, and see in the future. And like maybe someone can't actually comprehend or physically comprehend or interpret their own visions and what they see, and they need like a telepath and then someone who helps interpret it and say it to people on top of that, which is like three people in cloaks. Or maybe a telepath could be a queen positioned human, or maybe a telepath could be a detective, or maybe a telepath could even be like I forgot what I was gonna say. Maybe a telepath could be a blessing that fights against like the sin of whoring or perversion or lying, which is whoring or perverting something or perverting a story or lying all mean like not telling the truth or deceiving someone or lying to the point it alters someone's perception of you of someone else. Like perversion itself means lying to the point it alters a view of something. Whoring is telling lies in a mass group that physically alter someone's reality or perception of reality, which I thought was interesting, because not many modern day things actually realize or know that. They think perversion and whoring are sex or sex before marriage, and some people think adultery is having sex before marriage, but adultery is actually cheating. So to be an adulteress or an adulterer, adultery is actually cheating on someone who you promised you wouldn't cheat with. Um, yeah. Um, it reminds me of something I did one time. Someone was chasing me. I think I've said this on the video before, whether or not it's seen or watched or recorded. Someone was chasing me around a pool, and they were trying to hurt me in life, like in a real life situation. They were trying to hurt me and blah blah blah. I almost said they're trying to poison me, but I don't think they were. And they were like also trying to do rapey things, but they hadn't yet managed to. Um, so I managed to like I don't know why I had this thing. I was like this, and I was like that, and then like these little speckles of like this is just a delusion, obviously. Probably maybe they got to drug me or hit my head, or I just went a little bit crazy at that point in time. But like this delusion that I made these little speckles of silver with my mind and went like that, and they like burnt this fucking guy's face. He was like ah, and they like burnt their fucking motherfucking face. Or like that when I had this energy as a child I could do, which was before I learned healing and all this that, it was supposed to be explained as diamond energy, like diamonds forming a diamond energy, which I thought was pretty cool and interesting, but I don't think it's relevant as well. Um, which reminds me of the healing experience, which I learned from someone. Um, like healing experience, like I've had real life experience healing. People said I helped and did good, but then I don't suppose I always can do, and it could be the placebo effect. But this reminds me of what I learned about healing and healers a while back. Like you're not supposed to give a healer something to heal, because if you're going out of your way to cause these extra diseases or viruses or poisons in order for someone to heal, like obviously a healer could accidentally do it as self-defense, not on purpose. But as long as it's not on purpose, but that's you more likely poison, which is the okay one. But if you cause like a disease or a virus for someone who has the healing gift or the gift of healing, like as an energy to do, that's not supposed to be a good thing from what I learned, because this puts more pollution in the thing and it empowers like the original being of that and makes plague themselves stronger and turns them to a being of plague for doing that, and this person will be punished. Like from the story of what I learned, Plague was originally trying to be a healer, but they weren't supposed to do that. They weren't doing it right, and that's not what they were supposed to be or do. So they rebelled against what they were supposed to be, and they were punished for it, and they weren't even healing to begin with. They just thought they were healing because, in quote, it needs to be aggressive, but that's not what healing is supposed to be. Yeah, because if it's not necessary, you're just using extra energy that should have been used somewhere else and weakening this person, and like they'll have as much as they need for any other situation, and they'll come across these things in situations naturally, with what they need, which also reminds me of psychics and beings with foresight. Like training them could be a good idea, especially with these things. They could find someone who's supposed to train them like a master in it, but most of the beings with psychic or foresight energy will innately, with their ability, find the situations or train themselves or see what they're supposed to see. Like, I always learned about, if you believe in the mind's eye theory, it's kind of actually a bad idea to like conjure visions or open it up unless you unless it naturally opens. Like, you might get angry and touch something and then you see it and it doesn't have a physical effect on your body or hurt you because you were supposed to see that. But if you open it up, it's not good because, you're forcing to see something that's not supposed to be seen, which could take a physical effect on the body, yes. Um, but it could also start creating situations that were never supposed to happen. Like, you'd be like, oh, I want to see something, I want to find something, and you try opening your mind's eye, and you see something happening, so you go on the path that you think is going to prevent it, but then in doing this, you can actually cause certain situation to happen that would have never happened before. And on the Force side things, it reminds me of an experience I had as a child, which I think I made up, honestly, but everything around it happened, and I don't know why I would conceive it or know it or be it as this. It was kind of like time reversing, um, which was interesting, which was a situation where my stepfather was being abusive and rapey, and they pushed me in front of something, and then, like, in this, I kind of, like, it was like I died and I was in pieces, and then I could, like, physically see everything reversing and going back, and then, like, it was the exact same sequence of events that had happened before, and I freaked out, so I just ducked and grabbed them and pulled like that, and they hit their head on it and passed out, like, they slammed their head against it, and they said they said they, like, went up and punched this moving thing, which was interesting. You know, not all of it is based, some of it's based around a rape, abuse, not all of it's based around rape, but, like, there's just certain people can do things. I've been looking for theories on what that could have been. Some saying it's some being starting with S as Mercy. Um, some say it's not. Some say it's like the effect to do with light inside of a box. I say it's just a coincidence, and maybe I was scared it was going to happen, and then things were happening the exact same way I thought they would happen, which I learned about manifestation. I know I wasn't manifesting them, which is interesting. Um, but yeah, it's like all these different things in hindsight, and what could or couldn't happen, and how certain beings could get themselves out of or into better situations, or certain beings could get themselves into worse situations by doing bad things or forcing these things to happen, or doing these things to people. Like, even with beings of foresight, I had this personal theory I was talking about before this show I Love Wednesday came out, and I was like talking to my friends, and I was like, my opinion of what people with foresight and psychic beings was they're all created with something to see, or something that they will do, and the things they will see and the things they will know. They're not supposed to know everything or more than that, or see things they're not supposed to see, um, which is kind of an interesting theory. Um, which also reminds me that darkness actually represents love. Sometimes darkness can represent love. Darkness is actually represented as a form of healing, a healing from the harsh day in the sun. Like, when animals or it gets too hot out, we go and sit under a tree in the shade or the shadow or the darkness, which is kind of like a form of healing. And these beings of force, this is like something I was also talking about before then. And, like, someone could be born to see love or death, someone could see hatred, someone could see kindness, someone could see the good things that are going to happen, some could see the bad things that are going to happen, some could see things that are supposed to happen, some could see things that are not supposed to happen. It's not generally always anything, because if someone were to see everything, then they would see nothing of their own. Like, they wouldn't even essentially know that they were themselves, kind of thing, which would be interesting, which is kind of bad. Which is generally why, like, it works with multiple groups of people in order to see these things. Like, even what I learned about beings that are supposed to be the high oracles, what we know to be the high oracles, or the big or important ones who are supposed to be the overrulers, like, their main ability is supposed to be the ability to see all other beings that possess foresight, so that they can keep them in check and report to the higher beings. They're not even necessarily, they might not even necessarily see the future unless they're seeing it through someone else, which I thought was interesting. Um, it's all in conjecture, like, about that whole being a thing that, like, I read about when the original first one was created, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like, I have this personal funny quote about life and how in perspective it could have been. Like, for all we know, when beings were first created, the first thing they had to do was wait in a line to be patient and wait their turn to get into existence in the garden, and not all of them, like, waited their turn, so not all of them got in. But I don't think that's true. But I'm just trying to say that as a relevant like, message of patience. Okay, so the art of war. Okay, so we've got the three here. In Don't Be Deceived, so someone might be deceiving you, don't be deceived by someone. Preparation is power, and choose your friends carefully. So I'm definitely getting someone who trusts someone that they shouldn't have trusted, or maybe something they shouldn't have known, or maybe something they can literally see right in front of them, but it's well disguised and happening because their minds have been so altered by trusting someone, which is sucks because it'll be hard to trust someone for a while after. But you know, as this card says, life is hard enough when we are deceived by others, but even harder when we deceive ourselves. When we tell ourselves that others are better, smarter, and more deserving of happiness than we are, or without emotions, sorry, or when emotions get into the way of radiating rational choices. Much of our freedom and power comes from control of our choices. Choose not to be deceived. The other side of that, Sun Tzu, I mean, Sun Tzu said all warfare is based on deception. So, there could always be certain beings you think you can trust, but they're specifically sent there to deceive you, which I think is interesting. My brother thinks I lack foresight. I say you lack experience. When it comes to certain beings, he's like, you're very manipulated, easily manipulated. And I'm like, well, I think you just need to learn how to not say when you see these things certain times so that you will last longer and so you get in less bad situations and so it's a better outcome, you know what I mean? He says you lack foresight. I say you lack experience in foresight. Preparation is power. Whatever you do in life, it is essential to make a plan. All plans should begin with a careful assessment of the circumstances involved in this point. The point of this is the information the process will give you. Ask around, get help from the appropriate people, arming yourself with the relevant intel allowing you to take or alter your plans accordingly. Don't be deceived by outside forces. You know, it kind of reminds me like there's good beings with foresight, but there could also be bad ones trying to blame or turn them on someone else because this person will help them. So all of these beings are trying to turn someone else to help them. And when it comes to psychic beings, even knowing when you would not or would do something until the point you do, like if that makes sense to you, is a way to win. Or it's like an interesting thought or theory. Sun Tzu said, "He will win who will win who prepared himself, waits to take the enemy unprepared." Oh damn, I was preparing a little bit. I'm usually just as fit as I need to be to win any situation, but sometimes you gotta lose the battle to win the war, which is an interesting theory. Choose your friends carefully. The chances that the chances that you surround yourself with like-minded people and everything work out. Um, but sometimes friends become distant from us, as do workouts. I mean, soulmates. I mean, as to about workouts and other acquaintances. Without knowing their desires, I mean designs, how can you decide whether they are a friend or foe? Remembering friends are not always allies, and allies are not always friends. Uh, Sun Tzu said, "We enter into alliances until we are acquainted with the design of thy neighbors." Of what? Sorry, of not my neighbors, our neighbors, which I think is kind of interesting. I don't know. I make all these long, pointless videos because no one will probably ever watch. I'm going to do a page on the Love Oracle because I feel like someone in this situation trusted the wrong person. So what's the advice for this one? The page is... I don't know, I can't really choose one. Kind of getting this page or this page. So the more pleasure, the more power. That's supposed to be the second message. Create thoughts that affirm your energy. I'm not getting any specific... I don't know about these ones. I don't know if those are good. I mean, I guess they're going to be good advice. This book usually gives me good advice, but... Okay, so... I'm getting the start and the end of the book for this one, so I don't know. It's interesting. A little bit more on these situations. And like, yeah, I know, I might do a little bit about the Drainer to do with the wind being, like the idea of the wind strategy that is 3 things. That might not be working because the Drainer beings and like all these different beings could even go as far as to try to play the long game and disguise themselves as all being good beings. When some of them could be, yes, some of them could be, some of them could believe it's good, but they're just trying to keep you away from the actual good ones, and even trying to kill them first and disguise it as something. In the past, we have Lodestone, Earth's Embrace, so someone dying, someone who is embraced by the Earth. So maybe someone who didn't or needs to be or now is in the Earth or back with the Earth. So Earth's Embrace could mean a kind, nurturing, healing touch from Earth, but for this I'm getting someone being buried. Bloodstone for the present, which is a purification of the soul in relation to Earth, and the other one is calm, expression, and vision. Vision kind of usually relates to air, but I'm getting calm expression relates to wind, so vision might relate to something I learned about tailed beings who are water, and beings with foresight looking into their tails, and depending how long they have gaze in there depends how powerful the foresight of this being is, and like that one is devoted to the foresight they get because they're looking at something, which is interesting. So I guess purification at the present represents fire, so something is going to be purged or purified by fire. I'm seeing a green rock, or rock of green, maybe because this card's about green rock. I'm seeing a couple of trees around. I'm terrible. I need to learn the tree so I can describe it. And I'm seeing 317 or 319 or 3172, 319 on like a white sign. And something that starts with an M, M-A maybe, which is kind of interesting. On this white sign with like writing also, which is kind of interesting. It's probably bullshit. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. I make no promises because I don't want to let anyone down. Only if I know for sure, guaranteed, will I ever make a promise. Which is why I avoid making promises. For the future, we have blue lace agate, calm expression, relating to the air or the wind. So the air to something or the wind to something in the future. This is a white-blue card. So for this one, I'm getting a red ribbon tied around something. I don't know why I'm grossly seeing like something to do with a box with a heart in it, like maybe some heart. Maybe it's a chocolate heart, or it could be an actual heart, but a red ribbon tied around a certain box, which is kind of interesting. I'm also seeing a dagger and something stabbing something, which is interesting. So for vision, the water one, we have low light. I'm seeing a seas, I'm seeing foam, I'm seeing waves breaking. I'm seeing a certain island, not the island from my dreams about the bad dreams where I found something going on in real life because I had a dream and then I checked a page I had joined previously, re-downloaded the app and joined it. And then I found something, and then a couple of weeks later, a friend was like, "Can you look for something there on me?" So I did, and then I found it again. See, this is a different island. It's like a little cove. There's sand. There's also these rocks with kind of like this green moss, particular stuff on them. And I think I've seen this in my head before about like a bone literally sticking up out of the side of bottom of one of these rocks, but that rock was in a different kind of location, not a beach location, which was kind of interesting. I'm seeing 3 golden orbs or 3 golden balls or 3 golden something there. I'm seeing a blue U, or like a blue circle forming as like a semicircle. I'm seeing, I don't know. Where's something to write down? I'm terrible at writing these things down from my head. I don't know. It's kind of like an S with a little apostrophe thing below it. SU, so like Susu. Or maybe it's an S, not a C, and it's like a Susan or a Susu, which I think is kind of interesting. I didn't draw it right. I can't exactly. I was thinking about it, and then it passed my mind before I found my pen, and I can't exactly draw it right because I suck. Like, I used to be able to draw things out of my head so perfectly, and I practiced all the time, and I had good artworks, but then um, I got really terrible at it from not practicing. Like, you don't do something for a day or two or three, and the ability just disappears completely, even if you spend 10 years working on and practicing it. It's bullshit. There it is. Okay, I'm gonna do cards from this one. I got the Adventure Time Tarot deck by Catherine Hiller. You know, if anyone ever ends up watching these videos, which they may or may not, and they ever find a deck that shows you the good and the bad that can happen, like the casual or normal tarot decks can as well, but I'm talking about like maybe an oracle card or like a deck specifically with cards that can specifically mean specific bad things instead of just being all like all the oracle ones being light-hearted about what will happen and stuff like that. I think it'd be a pretty cool idea. Okay, I thought I was seeing 3 cards, but there's only 2 here. We have Temperance and the Hanged Man. Um, so, someone who is being imprisoned or held captive somewhere in some form of chains, who is waiting and biding their time. What for? I'm not sure what this is for. I can't really see. The look on their face means I'm not really sure what that means. And there is Temperance, which is kind of like someone joyfully or happily playing or getting their way or seeing something clearly as well. Maybe this person could either be surprised as well. They're like sitting there thinking, contemplating, and this other one, this Temperance, is kind of like seems like someone who is joyful or happy to do something, someone who's going to walk right into the something or walk into the middle of 2 people, like walk in between 2 people and see what happens. Maybe something they didn't see. Temperance. This I am the key to keeping your head, balance, temperament, but this one looks more joyous. Harmony, so someone who is living at harmony or joy with a situation, or someone who is happy about something. Moderation or cooperation with something. Empathy, epiphany, compromise, adaptability, relationships, harmony. Um, Okay, someone who is walking with a smile on their face despite what's going on around them, and two different people with two views on something. That someone's walking in between or in the middle of with like a joyous or happy look on their face. They're looking for the best of it, or they've got a painted smile. They're kind of like walking through emotions. Maybe someone who physically goes for a walk or a jog or a run when they are dealing with emotional situations or stress, even. Someone who is learning to bring harmony to those around them. Yes, someone who can definitely harmonize with the land around them, or harmonize with the land around them, or the ponds around them, or is it harmony when walking maybe at a pond particularly? I'm getting someone who's going to be unplugging or maybe playing a game where someone's going to start controlling a situation. Something to do with the controller, someone who could even maybe control the outcome of a situation or a battlefield, like someone who's a controller, or they found like a controller of a certain situation, or like not like the controller, but like someone who can control situations when they have their own energy and stuff, and maybe people are trying to bring them down or hide them for that because they're jealous or want to be this, or they're scared because they'll be caught out or lose a situation. Good relationships or revelations are possible, so revelations could come out of this. I keep skipping the freaking card. Grrr. Yeah, I can't find this one. I can't find the Hanged Man. I'm getting the Hangman could even relate to this island. Like in my dreams, I saw an island, and just saying when I was looking at the cards, I saw an island, but they didn't look like the same islands unless it was from different angles. I remember there was a particular room or building on this island, the one in my dream, and the other one had like two mossy rocks on it. Green moss rocks. There we go. Something about a sacrifice that must be made to admit or see the truth behind a situation, maybe sacrifice or self-sacrifice, or looking into a situation with actual insight rather than preconceived ideals. Um, Patience, waiting, surrender, sacrifice, wisdom, foresight, insight, planning, strategy, eventual gain. Okay, so maybe it's someone who did or didn't know what they were doing and they were confused by this or why it's happening, but someone who has been locked up or imprisoned or even enchained or something bad has happened to them, even to do with a stomach or something in a stomach, in order to get something that they needed for a certain situation, to prove something or show something or expose people for a better outcome. Someone who is sitting there watching patiently, just sitting there staring at people, or someone who constantly sits there and observes others to see them as they are, what's going on, or even someone who could have been through bad situations in the past, so they're always scared that something bad is going to happen. This reminds me, actually, temporarily reminds me of something I do. Like, I always look at people, and I'm not trying to be rude or perv or do this or that. Like, I'm constantly sometimes scaring people because I'm like, oh, do they have a knife, or this or that, or is someone going to attack someone, or this or that, because, I've been through some weirdly bad situations. And sometimes you just know what's going to happen when it's going to happen. Like, you just know. Like, you just know it's going to happen. And then sometimes you got anxiety situations. But it's like, how do you define anxiety from foresight or prophecy? You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting. What, like, not everyone's magically resistant from their fucking mother's family side of the line, which is interesting. Onto my theory of like certain beings, which I got told about certain people could do this. Who is like one of the time abilities that's not as common or known about or overlooked is taking damage through time, not being invincible or immortal. So like taking damage too many times could lead to death over a certain period as well. Okay. Again, I'm getting the 2 from this one. I'm getting 2 from this one. Don't allow self-sacrifice to lead to resentment. Factor your own needs into a group equation to avoid this, or I'm seeing also get a better outcome of a situation. Just like factor your own needs and work that with and use it to get what you want or get out of a situation or get into a situation. Like use that or the thought of that. Every new moon brings in a new shape. Every new moon is the beginning of a powerful new lunar cycle or lunar eclipse. Use it to manifest your aims and desires. Oh, this is a physical thing? I didn't know this book had this. I'm not really that into like the whole ritual type shit and blah blah blah. I've never particularly done any because I'm like iffy about it all. I don't know if I trust it, but you could do, you couldn't do. Um, but like I got told I have certain heritages. So, light a candle, hold your favorite crystal in your left hand to connect its energy to your heart. I just do that sometimes because I think it feels nice. Um, write down 3 words that best sum up what you want. I don't do that. And place this under your pillow and seal it in cement. Sorry, place it under your pillow and sleep on it to cement. Sleep on it to, yes, it does say cement. But it says something else, your intention. I mean, what are you gonna do? Seal some being in cement mixed with rosemary, oil, sage, and fucking like mix in some holy nails in there and hope the ground doesn't start cracking in that area and shaking because some evil red giant being is getting out that you stabbed in the hand. Not saying that's real, that's just like something from a book I was thinking about writing, which is obviously not real at all because, yeah. But anyway, cool, peace, thanks, have a nice night, bye.